I'm with Cindy Sheehan, and she's won the right to be on the ballot against Nancy Pelosi, who's Speaker of the House. How do you feel?
We feel great. It was a very hard process. We've been working at this since April 23rd. Almost everything else on our campaign came to a standstill. We had a lot of, we think, hanky-panky from the election office, but the person who runs it, of course, we've heard is in Pelosi's and Newsom's pocket, and he's a staunch, Democrat. So I think they were working really hard to keep us off the ballot, but the people were working really hard to put us on, and it's just really one of the happiest days I've had since my son was killed.
And why are they so afraid of you, Cindy?
Well, I think because after Casey was killed, of course, I went on a crusade against George Bush. I went on a crusade against the Iraq War. I went on a crusade against the Republican Party. But gradually I've come to realize that it's not just the Republicans, it's the Democrats, the corporate Democrats. It's the system that keeps us in wars, that makes poor people poorer, that's destroying the environment. It's not just the Republicans. So I stepped outside the Democratic Party. I'm running now against the entire system, not just half of the system, and it is very threatening because it threatens their power and it threatens their greed. And as I'm running, I really realize how fundamentally broken the system is and how it tries to keep the voice of the people out, and that's something that we have to work really hard to fix.
Now, the Democrats have said that they tried to stop the war, but they're blocked by the Republicans, and they really don't have the votes because they don't have control of the Senate. What is the reality behind that?
Well, I think, first of all, many of the Democrats voted to give George Bush the authority to go to war, and now many more Democrats are voting for the funding. Nancy Pelosi is the Speaker of the House. She's the leader of the Democratic Party. If she really wanted to, she could get her caucus together to vote against funding. However, since she's the Speaker of the House, she controls what gets to the floor for a vote. And if she would, and her and Harry Reid would get together and tell George Bush no more funding, just enough money to bring our troops home, that is what started, I believe, to end the Vietnam War, is when the Congress, from pressure from the anti-war movement and the grassroots, they started to withhold funding for it.
Now, were you surprised when Obama said that he wanted to send another 10,000 more troops to Afghanistan?
No, I'm not surprised because, like I said, the Democrats are as much of a war party as the Republicans are. And instead of being a true leader and saying that both of these occupations were a mistake, the solution to the problems is not more killing and more violence. It's, as a matter of fact, working really diligently to solve the problem without violence, bringing our troops home, using diplomacy, trying to foster a system of economic equality, then that would solve the problem. But Obama is just part of the system that he wouldn't be trying so hard to become the president of the United States, or he wouldn't have been nominated. I'm sorry, because I know two very good people who are trying to be president, but he wouldn't have been nominated by one of the two parties if he hadn't already sold out to the system.
And what kind of things would you do if you became the congressperson representing San Francisco?
Well, of course, I've been here now for a year. I've talked to so many people. I think that we, of course, need to work really hard with the people in Congress who have been working very hard to end the war. There are some good progressive people in Congress. We need to work really hard to bring our troops home from Iraq and Afghanistan. We have to still work really hard to hold this administration accountable for their lies and their war crimes. But
what does that mean?
That means that if George Bush and Dick Cheney receive federal benefits, then they're still subject to impeachment. And we can have them impeached. We can work with communities and in the international community to have them indicted for war crimes. I heard Condoleezza Rice had trouble in New Zealand recently. They tried to arrest her for war crimes. I guess it was not the country, but some activists there. So we have to do that, but we have to also work on the problems here at home. People are losing their homes, people are losing their jobs, people don't have health insurance, the education system is falling apart, our environment's falling apart, and those are the things that we have to work on. But we have to first work on reining in the military-industrial complex.
Well, this is a system problem, as you said before. How are you going to solve the system problem? I mean, do you believe that the elections are going to solve the system problem?
Well, I think when we beat the Speaker of the House, that's going to not solve the problem, but that's going to go a long way to healing and a solution. When we beat the Speaker of the House in November, that's going to tell 534 other people in Congress and the Senate that their jobs are now performance-based. And they have to listen to the people, not the corporations, not the fascist corporations that we have right now that are the ones who actually run the country, and not the military-industrial complex. So it will go a long way towards starting to put a dent into the system.
Now, have people become excited about your candidacy, and is that the reason you've been able to get the massive amount of signatures to get on the ballot?
Well, we've been, for the past couple months, we have been having volunteers and money pour into the office and signatures, yes. People are getting really excited about it, and we're really excited about now going to the next level, which will be campaigning after attaining ballot status.
And what's your website?
It's cindyforcongress.org.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Steve.